It's really hard to be objective about the DeLorean. All of the stories have been told. The legend precedes the car. In time machine trim, that is the most famous car in the world. So I promised myself two things with this film. One, that I would try and give you my thoughts on the DeLorean as a car, not as a movie star. And two, that I'd try and tell you one or two things that you didn't previously know about the DeLorean. Now, I'm going to manage expectations here. There's nothing I can say that you can't find written somewhere on the internet, I'm sure. But I'm banking on the fact that, like me, you probably haven't read it all. The DeLorean divides opinion so much that I'm actually really looking forward to driving it and finding out what side of the debate I land on. I'm going to have to, without the use of a time machine, go back pre-1985 and imagine I'm driving this car before it had starred in the Back to the Future movie series, though, because it's very difficult to think of it as a car, I've got to be honest.
I failed at the first hurdle. I was going to stay away from the movie theme, I know, but there's something you need to know, and it hits you as soon as you get in here. The speedometer only goes up to 85 miles per hour. Yes, in the movie, you have to hit 88 miles per hour before you can enter the space-time continuum and change time zones. I know, there's no flux capacitor in here either. Interesting fact.
In fact, ignoring the speed you need to be going in order to change time zones, you'd expect a 2.85-litre V6 to demand a better endowed speedometer than one showing 85 miles per hour, and you'd be justified in that expectation. The US government mandated from the early 1980s that all cars show a top speed not higher than 85 miles per hour. Claims of a 130 mile per hour top speed appear on the internet and also appear wide of the mark. 110 miles per hour seemingly more realistic.
Everything about the DeLorean screams sports car, except the DeLorean. It only has 130 brake horsepower from that 2.85-litre V6 engine. Does 0 to 60 in 10.5 seconds and allegedly has a top speed of around 110 miles per hour. Doesn't exactly growl at you when you try and fact check those statistics either. Interesting comparison, the Renault Alpine GT A6110 wears its V6 engine like a badge of honour. And that's the same engine.
The DMC Delorean first broke cover as a concept car in 1976, at which time the focus looked to be on the right stuff: performance, technology, innovation. Originally penned as a mid-engined and rotary-powered car with a lightweight, revolutionary chassis, the prototype DeLorean could almost have been considered in supercar terms. Production and economic realities, though, along with a dollop of politics, had done their thing by the time production started in 1981. And the Peugeot, Renault, Volvo engine, to demystify the acronym, ended up being rear-mounted with a heavy chassis owing to DeLorean's patented lightweight elastic reservoir moulding technology not being up to the job.
So the DeLorean sports car credentials may not have got off to the best start. Even calling it a sports car for some is pushing it. But I defy you to sit here and not feel like you're driving something really special. As soon as you pull down those gull-wing doors and climb into the car, it kind of engulfs you. It's like being inside the cockpit of some quirky fighter jet. One thing the DeLorean does really well is theatre. Now, we can't sit here and talk about DeLoreans and not mention those stainless steel body panels, can we? In truth, though, there isn't an awful lot to mention. Giorgetto Giugiaro, who designed this car and is one of the most incredible car designers in history, in my opinion, who also designed cars like the Alfa 159, fabulous looking car. The Mark I Volkswagen Golf was his as well. But really, the design of this car was about functionality. Those stainless steel panels just bolt onto a GRP body. It was a lightweight and quite cost-effective way of manufacturing the car. But ignore all of the science, we don't really need to talk about that. They're the most iconic part of the DeLorean. That's the bit that everyone wants to talk about. Why are they stainless steel? How do you clean a stainless steel car? They're just an iconic part of an iconic car. That's all we need to say.
No good British car story would be complete without a riveting narrative of boardroom politics, skullduggery, and catastrophic economic failure. And the DeLorean story is right up there with the best of them, as we all know. One thing we'll never know, though, is whether John DeLorean's failings as a businessman derailed what could have been a spectacular outcome for the company. The DMC-12, as this car was known on the factory floor, was a big splash for the Irish company.
But what lay in wait for us, even as the first DeLoreans were rolling off the production line, was more substance. There were cost-effective, four-door concept cars waiting in the wings that, had they been produced in the 80s, would surely have widened DeLorean's appeal. And you know what? May have even changed the face of car design over the past 40 years.
Just talking about the Back to the Future movie, if you'll let me for a minute, the producers were clearly under no illusions as to the DeLorean's sporting or prestige pedigree. They dubbed the sound of a Porsche 928 V8 over the car's driving scenes hilariously. I just think, that given they were originally going to use a domestic fridge appliance for the time machine, how exciting would that have been? Somebody must just have seen one of these driving past and thought, that looks better than a fridge. And you know what? Speaking objectively, it does.